Hi everyone, welcome back. In this lecture onwards, we'll start implementing exception handling in a banking application. Let us quickly take a look into how we are going to handle the exceptions in a Spring Boot REST API project. Well, whenever client sends a request, the controller will handle that request and it will send that request to the service. In a service, we basically write the logic to validate the request. Like first we'll check whether the account with a given ID is exist in database or not. If it is not exist, then we throw account exception. Once we throw the account exception, then we have to handle that exception and we need to prepare the error response for that exception and we need to send that error response back to the client, right? So for that, what we'll do, we'll create a global exception handler class. Within that, we will write a logic to handle specific exceptions as well as generic exceptions in a single place. So instead of writing the exception handling logic in each and every controller, we'll create a separate class as a common class and we'll call it as global exception handler, and within this class we keep all the exception handling related logic. Okay, so this is basically a flow. Whenever client sends a request, the controller will process that request and it will forward that request to the service. Service will validate the request. If there are any issues, then it will throw the exception, and the global exception handler will catch that exception. It will prefer the error response and it will send that error response back to the client. So this is the simple flow. Next, let us take a look into few key points about exception handling in a Spring Boot application. Well, handling exceptions in a Spring Boot REST APIs is typically done by using @controller_advice and @exception_handler annotations. Next, @controller_advice annotation enables global exception handling for controllers. So instead of writing the exception handling logic for each and every controller, we will create a separate class and we will annotate that class with @controller_advice annotation. And within that class, we'll write all the exception handling logic for all the controllers. So we'll basically keep all the exception handling logic in a single place. Next, @exception handler annotation defines the methods to handle specific exceptions within a controller or globally with @controller_advice class. So basically we use @exception handler annotation to handle the specific exceptions. So we'll see in a coding section how we can use these two annotations to handle the exceptions in a Spring Boot REST APIs. Alright, in next lecture we will start implementing exception handling in our banking application. Alright, great. I will see you in the next lecture.